Good morning and welcome again to Tip Tuesday. Today I'm going to talk about the first of what I expect to be several videos on technique. Specifically today I'm going to be talking about posture in a wheelchair and essentially how best to move oneself in a wheelchair, what arm movements to use, and more importantly, how to angle your body appropriately. So to do this, I'm going hands-free today, and I apologize, our home isn't in the best shape. We've been doing remodeling lately, but with that, the first thing to know is that you do not want to be rigid. You want your body to sort of lean forward into each push. The other thing is that generally, especially on level floors, you want your hands to be synchronized. So what you don't want is for one hand to move, the other hand to move, the one hand to move, the other hand to move. Because what that does is build less momentum. So in other words, wheelchairs operate off of momentum rather than much else. So by moving each hand one after the other, you lose a bit of that because you're angling a little bit. Whereas if you're pushing all of your force together at the same time, you're moving directly forward so that there's less left or right, because one wheel is getting more energy input than the other. There are exceptions to this, as there always are. I'll do a video later, I'm sure, on how to carry things. And for something like that, you might want to use one hand at a time, sort of, especially if you have something like a cup, a bowl of soup, something like that. You'll want to keep that in one hand very securely while your other is pushing, and then you'll swap hands so that you can keep moving forward. So there will be a sort of zigzag pattern. The other big exception are hills. Generally, it depends a bit on the hill. Again, this is perhaps a video of its own down the road, but in the case of hills, you want to have a constant input of energy rather than just rely on momentum. That's why I say on a level surface, generally, you want both hands moving together in a synchronized fashion, and you want your torso to move with the push. So as a demonstration, I'm going to roll away, then back, and I'll start by just maintaining a small posture. And for the purposes of this, since we're focusing on posture, I'm going to just do singular hand pushes, synchronized, both hands. So here we go. Now notice there's no torso movement. I do have control, but notice how little my arms are able to move back and forth. That is how there's relatively little motion that's being relatively little contact being made with the wheel. So wheel circle. When your shoulders are not moving, there's only a portion, a smaller, relatively speaking, smaller portion of the wheel that's able to be, that's in contact with the hand at any given moment. When you are moving your entire body with the wheel, with the push, then that becomes a much stronger point of view. You have a higher level of contact on the wheel. So in contrast, so notice that it's both faster and that there's a lot more contact to the wheel. This is because you want to pull back your torso to get as far back on the wheel as you can, and then you want to push forward as far forward as you can, comfortably, of course. I would say you're getting roughly half the wheel, at least, when you're adding those torso movements. When you're just moving you're just moving your arms, I would say you're getting closer to about a quarter. So by that, you're about doubling your input as far as energy to those wheels. And so that'll about do it for Tip Tuesday today. Thank you all once again so very much for your support. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Have a wonderful day. As a side note, if you happen to know of any topics or can think of any topics, have heard of topics that you would like to see in a future video, please let me know. Feel free to drop a comment, send me a message, shoot me a text, an email, whatever you'd like. My contact information should be on the Facebook page here. And so with that, keep rolling.